You've probably been there, sitting at your desk, staring at a blank document, the clock ticking louder than your thoughts. You know you should start that report, but instead, you scroll through social media, clean your keyboard, or even reorganize your sock drawer. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're procrastinating. And you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are trapped in this cycle of delaying the important stuff, even when they know it's hurting them. But what if we told you that procrastination isn't just a bad habit, it's a complex psychological behavior rooted in the way our brains work? It's not about willpower or laziness. It's about fear, perfectionism, and the way our minds trick us into thinking we'll be better off later. Let's dive into the science behind why we procrastinate, why it's so hard to stop, and how we can finally break free from the cycle. Procrastination isn't just about avoiding work. It's about avoiding the emotional pain that comes with it. Think about the last time you put off a task you knew was important. Maybe it was a project at work, a school assignment, or even something as simple as exercising. What were you feeling in that moment? Anxiety? Guilt? Fear of failure? Those emotions are the real enemy here. Our brains are wired to avoid discomfort, and when we look at a task that feels overwhelming, our natural reaction is to delay it. It's not because we're lazy, it's because we're trying to protect ourselves from the stress or anxiety that comes with facing it. In fact, research shows that procrastination is often a form of emotional regulation. People delay tasks not to be lazy, but to escape the emotional weight of starting them. It's a temporary escape, but it comes with a cost. One of the biggest psychological traps we fall into is called the present bias. This is the brain's tendency to prioritize immediate rewards over long-term benefits. Imagine you're sitting down to study for an exam that's a month away. You know you should start now, but instead, you choose to watch an episode of your favorite show. That's present bias in action. Your brain is telling you, why bother with that boring study material when I can enjoy something fun right now? It's a survival mechanism that helped our ancestors focus on immediate threats, like finding food or avoiding danger. But in modern life, it's a double-edged sword. It makes us prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term success, even when we know the long-term consequences are worse. That's why we put off important tasks, even when we know they'll make our lives better in the long run. Another major factor that keeps people stuck in the procrastination trap is perfectionism. Perfectionists are often the ones who say, "I'll start this tomorrow when I have more time," or "I can't begin this project until I've got the perfect plan." But here's the thing, perfectionism isn't about being overly careful, it's about being terrified of making mistakes. Perfectionists believe that if they don't do something perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. That mindset paralyzes them. They're so focused on avoiding errors that they never even start. A study by the University of Calgary found that 95% of university students procrastinate on academic tasks, and many of them cite perfectionism as a key reason. They're not avoiding work, they're avoiding the possibility of failing. But the truth is, perfectionism doesn't lead to success. It leads to burnout, self-doubt, and a lifetime of unfinished projects. Then there's the issue of motivation. If you've ever found yourself staring at a to-do list and feeling completely unmotivated, you're not alone. Lack of motivation is a major contributor to procrastination, and it's often linked to unclear goals. When people don't know what they're working toward, it's easy to lose focus. That's why goal-setting techniques like SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, can be so powerful. They give you a clear roadmap and make it easier to see progress. But here's the catch, if your goals are too vague or unrealistic, they can actually make you feel more overwhelmed and more likely to procrastinate. It's not about setting impossible standards, it's about creating a plan that feels manageable and achievable. Environmental factors also play a big role in whether we procrastinate or not. Think about your workspace. If it's cluttered, noisy, or full of distractions, it's much harder to stay focused. That's why time management systems like the Pomodoro technique, working in 25-minute intervals with short breaks, can be so effective. They help you create a structured environment that minimizes distractions and keeps you on track. But even the best time management systems won't work if you're constantly battling stress or anxiety. That's where mindfulness and self-compassion come in. Research from the University of California, Irvine shows that procrastination can reduce productivity by up to 40%, but the good news is that it's not a permanent state. People who practice self-compassion, treating themselves with kindness instead of criticism, are more likely to break the cycle of procrastination. They understand that setbacks are part of the process and that starting over doesn't mean failure. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine a graduate student named Sarah. She's working on her thesis, but she's stuck. Every time she sits down to write, she feels overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work ahead. She tells herself, "I'll start tomorrow," and instead of writing, she scrolls through social media or cleans her apartment. Sound familiar? Sarah's story is common, but what makes it different is how she eventually overcomes her procrastination. She starts using the Pomodoro technique, breaking her work into 25-minute intervals with short breaks in between. She also sets smart goals, like writing 500 words a day instead of trying to finish the entire thesis in one go. Over time, she notices that the small, consistent progress helps her build momentum. She's not perfect, and she still struggles sometimes, but she's no longer trapped in the cycle of procrastination. Another example comes from the corporate world. A tech company noticed that many of its employees were struggling with productivity, and they realized that stress and anxiety were major contributors. They introduced flexible work hours and mindfulness training to help employees manage their stress. The results were impressive. Within a few months, employee productivity increased by 30%. The company realized that reducing stress wasn't just about making people happier, it was about helping them focus and complete tasks more efficiently. It's a reminder that procrastination isn't just about time management, it's about emotional well-being. So, what's the key takeaway here? Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It's a natural response to fear, perfectionism, and the brain's preference for immediate gratification. But that doesn't mean it's unchangeable. The first step is understanding that procrastination is a normal part of the human experience, and that it doesn't define your worth or your potential. The second step is taking action, whether that's setting realistic goals, creating a structured environment, or practicing self-compassion. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. Remember, the next time you feel the urge to procrastinate, it's not a sign that you're lazy or unmotivated. It's a sign that your brain is trying to protect you from emotional discomfort. But instead of giving in to that urge, try to reframe it. Ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take right now? Maybe it's just opening the document and typing one sentence. Maybe it's setting a timer for 25 minutes and committing to work for that time. Whatever it is, take that step. Because the truth is, the moment you start, the power of procrastination begins to weaken. And with every small action, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of change. So, what are you waiting for? The next time you feel that familiar tug of avoidance, remember this: you're not alone. You're not broken. You're human. And you have the tools to break free from the cycle. It starts with one small step. One sentence. 1 minute. And from there, everything else will follow.